Hello fellow bibliophiles, and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. Today is my day off, and I thought that I would do a lovely little vlog for you guys, and that I should start Villette. So Villette is the first book that I'm reading for my Bronte project, which I hope you guys will join along in. There's already been great support from people and lots of interesting discussions happening on the Goodreads page, and I'm just going to start reading it. It's a big, thick book, but it has 2 months, well, 1.5 now, but that's okay. And I can't wait to look at all the pages that I dog-eared in the past and all of the little notes that I wrote to myself. It should be a lot of fun. My husband had work meetings all morning, so those can be noisy while sitting in my reading chair. So I was relegated to the bedroom for a while, and I had a good time responding to people's Voxer messages and actually getting to watch some BookTube, which has been nice. And yeah, now his meetings are for the most part over, I think, for the day. I could be wrong about that. We'll find out. And it's time to get cozy and read. So I've put off reading Villette until sort of the end of the month because I was reading The Small House at Allington, which, oh my goodness, was so good. I can't believe I've been prolonging the Barsetshire Chronicles series. It is amazing, and I just have been very slowly going through it, but I have fallen in love with Anthony Trollope's writing, and this one was the best one yet. And I think I say that for every single one I read. When I read Dr. Thorne, I loved it. I made a whole video on it, and I think I said that it was my favorite one in the series so far. The fourth one, Framley Parsonage, I loved as well and said it was my favorite. And now we're on to the fifth in the series, and yet again, it's my favorite. So they just keep getting better and better. I can't wait to read the last one as well, but it's another thick, chunky book, so it will have to wait certainly until I finish Villette. I also started on my e-reader At Home in Midford for the A Year in Midford series that Kate Howe and a bunch of other lovely people are hosting. And I am not loving it. It's supposed to take place in this small rural town of Mitford in America. It follows a pastor, but the town is just too small and cozy for my taste, if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like maybe I've been reading too many dramatic things lately, but like something has to be lurking under the surface. Everyone can't just be this friendly and wonderful. It's not realistic, and it's not something that I believe while reading. And perhaps that's because I'm not from a rural town. Perhaps that's because I've never read like super cozy Christian fiction before. I don't know. But I am loving the character of Barnabas, who is this big, floofy dog who follows the pastor around everywhere, and he is completely rambunctious and uncontrollable. And then the pastor utters bits of sermon and bits of the Bible and different passages of liturgy, and the dog just instantly calms down and pays attention, and I love that. The dog is my favorite character so far, and everyone else I feel is kind of bland and unbelievable, and I don't know if I'll finish this book. I think it's going back to the library too soon for me to finish it anyway, but we'll see. I don't know if I'll be allowed to renew it. I think there are people who have it on hold, so once it's gone, and maybe I can get it back in like a month or so, but I don't know that I'll be participating in A Year at Midford because of that. That being said, I know these books give Kate Howe so much joy and comfort, and if they bring that sort of joy and comfort to people, then that's wonderful. They definitely don't do that for me, and they just kind of bore me, so I may not be reading them. Yes! Oh my goodness. Okay, so the first page with the introduction gives a warning. Yes, this is what all introductions in the front of classics should do. It says, new readers are warned that this introduction makes details of the plot explicit. Yes, oh my goodness, yes. They should have a warning like that in all classics and on the backs of the books. Never read the backs of classics. I learned that the hard way with The Small House at Allington. I read the first sentence of the back of the book, and it gave away a plot spoiler that happens like 300 pages in. That is insane. I don't understand why classics do this, but yeah, thank you, whoever wrote the introduction of Villette, for placing that little warning there for new readers. Of course, I'm not a new reader, so maybe I actually will read the introduction. So I'm a few pages into the introduction, and actually it hasn't spoiled anything yet, but there are a lot of really interesting facts about the Brontes and Charlotte's time in Brussels, and just about the timing of publishing Villette and things like that. I'm finding it really interesting, actually. It's stuff I knew but kind of forget about. There's a lot about Charlotte's experience teaching and Charlotte's experience in Brussels, and there's a really interesting little tidbit of information that Elizabeth Gaskell hated Lucy Snow, the main character of Villette, and Charlotte Bronte, in return, did not like Elizabeth Gaskell's Ruth. Very interesting. I haven't read Ruth yet. It's one of Gaskell's last 2 novels that I have to read, but I'll keep that in mind while reading it. So I've been reading Villette. I read the first 3 chapters, and I've been writing quite a bit in my little notebook here, and I just have some initial thoughts on it. I do not remember very much of this book at all. I have completely forgotten that Villette starts not with the main character, Lucy Snow, but with this arrival of a little girl named Paulina to the home where Lucy Snow lives, and everything that we learn about the characters in the house, Paulina, the 16-year-old Graham, are all mediated through Lucy's point of view, and yet we know almost nothing about our protagonist, Lucy Snow. It's a very strange opening, and I completely forgot about it. It's also really disturbing how Paulina is so attached to the male authority figures in her life. She gloms onto her father and is devoted to her father, and then when separated from her father, she finds a surrogate figure in the 16-year-old of Graham. And the interaction between those two is very strange. It's almost as if Paulina is performing this version of femininity that she's expected to have, but she's such a young child. She's only 6, and she's already internalized this idea that she needs to be devoted towards a man and needs to alter herself in order to please them. It's very bizarre and kind of disturbing to watch, actually. So I look forward to continuing on with Villette. I know that Lucy Snow, our protagonist, definitely comes to the forefront a little more as the book goes on, and I know that she separates from this childhood home of hers pretty shortly after the first few chapters, I think, and goes abroad. So I'm very excited to watch that unfold and to remind myself of the story, because like I said, I don't remember as much as I thought I did. I thought I remembered plenty about Lucy Snow and her adventures, but it turns out that I didn't even remember how the book began. So it's a very slow beginning to Villette, but I think once I get into it, I'll remember why I love it so much. So it's another day off and another day of Villette. I am now, let's see, I'm on chapter 14, and it isn't quite what I remembered it to be, I must say. Villette is kind of a depressing book at this point. I really dislike our main character, Lucy Snow, and I think that's part of what I liked about the book, is that we have this enigmatic main character who I really can't figure out. She seems to have no personality of her own in the weirdest way, and I just love trying to figure her out. She, a lot of times, is reclusive and reticent to socialize with other people, and it's quite peculiar. She almost prefers being alone and mopey. She says in the beginning of this chapter, "I might have had companions, and I chose solitude. Each of the teachers in turn made me overtures of special intimacy. I tried them all." And then she goes through what's wrong with each person, and it seems that no one is good enough to be her friend. And yet, we're not even good enough to be her friend. I don't feel a special kinship with her, and even though she is our lens, she's the main character, I'm not identifying with her in any respect. It's quite bizarre, and I think it takes quite a bit of authorial skill to pull that off in a novel. So I'm really enjoying trying to figure Lucy out, and I think that that's part of this book, is that I don't know if we ever figure Lucy out, and yet I'm compelled to try because I like a little challenge, and that's in a sense what this book is. So I'm going to take a little tea break now. So I am finished with volume 1 of Villette, and I'm intrigued, but I am no closer to deciphering who Lucy Snow truly is. I just am constantly pointing to different passages where she withholds herself from others and withholds herself from us as a reader, and it's a bit frustrating and confusing, and that is a bit of the point of the book, I think. I think a lot of people struggle to understand Lucy and struggle to comprehend how someone could write a narrator like this. So Charlotte is brilliant in that respect. I've read unreliable narrators before, but never in the exact same way that Lucy Snow is written. For me, it's also really interesting to see how Lucy keeps reaching out to other characters, trying to make connections with them, and then withdrawing herself, pulling herself back, and almost regretting that decision. She does it with the priest, she does it with Ginevra, she does it with almost every character in the book. And there's just this distance between her and every other character, and this distance between myself as a reader and her. It's just a distance that I don't understand and hope to make better sense of by the end of the book. So I hope you are having a great time reading Villette with me. I love reading everyone's comments on the Goodreads page. I think that I will refrain from commenting on there and instead just kind of reflect on what people are saying there in videos in the future and process everyone's thoughts, kind of give a consensus as to what people are saying and incorporate that into my own discussion. And yeah, if you haven't picked up Villette yet, it is not too late. We do still have the entire month of February to read it. And if you don't want to join me for Villette, but are excited about a different Bronte novel, please do join me for that one later in the year. I will link the announcement video and the schedule in the description so you can see when I plan to read all of the different Bronte books. Do you have the same experience as me with reading Villette? What are your thoughts on Lucy Snow? What are your thoughts on all of the characters? I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. Bye!